Awesome. I think we're on the same level. Are we recording? Okay. Yeah. So the idea was I have the space and all the gear and everything to do this.
Right.
So I'm doing all these meetings I'm meeting lots of like business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff. I'm like, why don't I just record these conversations and then I can put it out as content and give it to them as content as well. So I'm going to take these and chop it up and, give you 5 or 6, I don't know. My goal is kind of 5 good sound bites that you can take and use on your
Fantastic.
social media.
Yep.
And then we can use it for ours as well. So it feels like a win-win. It serves a lot of purposes. And so, I don't know. It's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. And just finally was like, I finally stopped making excuses.
It's one of those things you just like, I stopped waiting for something.
Yes.
Just do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I ran out of excuses, I guess.
My clients are the same way.
And I finally had a little bit of time and, I hired Justin full time and he's, takes a huge burden off of me and does a lot of the editing and stuff. And so I have a little bit more time to like do the things that I have wanted to do, like work. What I always say is like work in my business work in my business or on my business, work on my business instead of in my business.
Yes.
And, cause I was just a solopreneur, I never had time to work on my business. I was always working in my business. And so I feel like now that I have a little bit of help, and a little bit of breathing room, I can work on my business.
It's a whole different world working on it instead of in it. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm getting to that point.
Yeah. What part of your business are you outsourcing right now?
Right now it's the marketing.
Okay.
So I just, back in January, I hired on a someone to do my social media and marketing stuff. And while I still have to do things, certain reels and things like that, which I still don't.
We have to create the content, right?
She creates a lot of it.
Okay.
But sort of the videos of me talking and doing those things are something I have to do. But for the most part, that's helped me a lot.
Is she giving you the ideas? Hey, I need like a video of this. Okay.
She'll outline for me, I need these reels. They need to be this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I just say for the most part, I just hired a manager, someone to manage me.
Yeah.
It's like when it comes to marketing, I don't know anything about it. So it's like you manage me and I'll do it.
Why was that the first thing that you passed off?
Because it's something that I need to grow faster, and I struggle with it. It's a weakness of mine. I know what I like to do, and I know what I don't like to do. Yeah. And the one thing that I know that owning a business has taught me is I've learned what I like to do and what I don't like to do just by having to do it all. And there's certain things I just avoid, and marketing was a big one. And it's probably the one that you shouldn't avoid the most.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to just suck it up and just pay somebody to do it for me.
Yeah, or it'll never get done.
Or it'll never get done.
Yeah.
And then, then you wonder, why do I have any more clients?
Yeah.
It's like, because you're not marketing anything. So, yeah, and there's a lot I'm learning. It's sort of like what works, what doesn't work. Because it's marketing, I've put a lot of weight on her, which is good in a way, but there's also that part of me that's a little controlling. It's like, are we doing this right? And so I'm trying to be a little bit of a hands-off person, which is different for me because I'm so used to running the whole business, working on it,
every
and
aspect
in it.
of it.
Yeah, so every aspect. So pulling back and going, just trust the process.
How
let it happen.
How are you measuring success with your marketing?
Right now, it's just a growth of like social media followers, building that up, getting more. That kind of aspect of it is where I'm putting a lot of my seeing with it successful. I think, and the next step is it's because my social media is minuscule for the most part. Because I don't like social media.
I think the nature of what you do, because it's so niche down, I don't think you're going to get like a huge following.
No, and I'm not looking for like thousands of people.
You want a small number of very engaged people, right?
Correct.
You want a community.
Yeah.
Yeah, a small community.
So for me, it's like I have 120 Instagram followers, which is 100.
That could probably be more than that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, because I never did it. I would do a little bit at a time. So, for me, it's like if I get to 400, that's a big, that's a big following.
Yeah, 4x it. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of looking for 100,000 or 10,000 or whatever, which it's not.
You're looking for engagement instead of, numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of what I do in my business is education more. I sort of see myself, though I'm a personal trainer and I'm doing mindset coaching and I do a little nutrition. Ultimately, I see myself as an educator for it because the people I work for or the people that I focus on working with are beginners. So a lot of that, when it comes to like Instagram or whatever, it's more like I want those posts to be educational and that kind of thing. So for me, that's so that so it is niched down, but
Yeah.
there's even within that when I'm trying to educate more.
Why don't you go ahead and give like the 30-second elevator pitch of exactly what you do for people
Right.
who are watching and listening?
I am a owner of a business. Right now it's called Phoenix Fitness, but it's in a transition stage. So I'm going to move it over. So the business is going to be called Coaching for Bariatric Success. And I work with people who've gone through bariatric surgery or planning on going through bariatric surgery.
And what is that?
It's bariatric surgery is, people think of it as like gastric bypass, things like that. It's reduction of your stomach and changing of your plumbing for the most part, moving around your intestines,
Okay.
all this stuff in order to reduce the amount of food that you eat. That's the basics. There's a little bit more to it than that. But the ultimate thing is it's a weight loss. It's a tool for weight loss is what it is. And for a lot of people that go through this, they come out the other side, and it's a fairly significant procedure that you're doing. And it's not keto or something where you can just eat it. I mean, literally, they're changing your plumbing and messing with your stomach.
What's the recovery time for that?
It takes 6 weeks.
So
So
then to
after
like physically recover and be ready to move around.
yeah, so you come out, and in the first 6 weeks, it's a lot of it depends, because they do so many things. Like there's one called a gastric sleeve where they cut out about 80% of your stomach and pull it out of just pull it out. You just remove.
That
80%.
seems very dramatic.
It's very dramatic, and ultimately that's the least dramatic of them all. But what happens is when they do that, they staple this new banana-shaped stomach, and that stapling and the healing takes about 6 weeks.
Okay.
So, and they do that. There's the other ones where they take the stomach still there, but they make a little pouch and they reroute your intestines around it. But all that is it takes about 6 weeks of recovery, mostly because everything's got to heal and come back to place.
Yeah.
So that recovery is
That's major surgery.
It's major surgery. It's a big deal. And when people do it, if you've done it right, you've put a lot of thought into it first. But typically, even afterwards, there's a point where you get to the now what stage, which is kind of where my business sets up. It sets up a point where it's those people that are coming through bariatric surgery, they go to the other side, they're in that 6 week healing process, and they're looking ahead to the future and going, well, now what do I do?
Right, because the surgeon isn't going to hold their hand the rest of their life, right? Whoever they're working with for the surgery isn't going to continue to help. They'll help them on the medical side and check them, make sure everything's healing properly and things like that. But as far as continuing to lose weight on their own, they don't know what to do because they've never done this before. That's why they got in this predicament in the first place, right?
Right. Yeah. And you're right. The surgeon is part of a business. They'll bring you in, they train, they educate you on what's going to happen, and they may educate you on bringing you back into solid foods again. And that takes about 6 weeks. And then they're going to cycle back around to the new person. And then you're off on your own.
Yeah.
And you have, if you don't know people that have gone through bariatric surgery to lean against, or if you're, and just looking at all the different things like Facebook and Instagram, there's hundreds of different ways to do it. And I think a lot of people are just like, what the hell? What do I do?
Yeah.
Now what do I do? And that's where I come into play. And it's just sort of like I've been doing this for 10 years, and there is a path. Everybody's different, but there's still a path that typically people will take. And it's just following that path and learning those new habits and learning how to eat right and learning how to exercise.
It's a new lease on life for them, right?
It's a brand new life.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I do is I have a support group every couple of weeks. It's an online support group. And it was just yesterday, and we were talking about this because there's a girl that just went through, or she's thinking of going through the surgery, and she's really nervous about all the stuff that comes afterwards. And the one thing I told her, and the one thing that I've noticed is when you go through this surgery, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it as I'm no longer overweight. I've gone through the surgery and I've lost a lot of weight, and that sets you up for failure. The second way you can look at it is I have a new lease on life. I have a new way to start a new life. So when you're thinking of yourself like I just lost a bunch, I'm no longer going to be obese, is you've crossed a finish line. You're no longer something, right? And when you cross a finish line, you're done.
Okay.
You don't have to do anything. You've finished the race. And that's where people get into trouble because they think, well, I've done this surgery, I've lost a lot of weight, I'm good.
Do a lot of people with that mindset, are they putting weight back on?
Yes. Yeah, typically when you have that mindset, you're putting weight back on because you've not changed anything in your life. But if you come into this and you're thinking to yourself, I'm starting a new life.
Yeah.
That's a more difficult way of looking at it, because then you have to look at all the habit changes you have to make, and you have to look at how your relationships and your family and your friends and your colleagues are going to change, and how you're going to change, and all that. And so that's a more difficult path when you start thinking about it, but that's the path that's going to be the successful one, because you're going to have to change all those things in order to become successful.
Yeah.
And I actually in what I've noticed is you have two starting lines with bariatric surgery. Is you have one which is, okay, I need to start making these changes. I need to start practicing these habits. And then the second one is more nebulous, and it's when those habits become mindless. It's when you go from, I say like a second starting line idea is one of your friends says, hey, I've got this great hike to a waterfall, and it's going to be about 10 miles round trip. And your reaction is, that sounds great, let's do it.
Yeah.
Then you've hit a new starting line versus like, hey, I've got this hike, let's do it. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if my weight's going to be there. Am I going to slow them down? Am I going to, that worry about who you are as a physical person. That, but when you get to that point where this new life is just who you are, and you're like, yeah, I've got the hike, great, let's go do it.
Yeah.
That's the second start. That's when you really started this new life. So the first one is I've started into building new habits. The second one is I've gotten to the point where it's just now who I am. I now go to the mediums or the smalls to buy clothes. I don't start at triple extra large and move my way down.
I shop at a totally different store now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't even go to that store anymore.
Yeah, I look at myself in the mirror and I expect myself to be the size I am. Versus,
is that a big thing for them? Like just looking in the mirror and seeing a different person, and not recognizing the person in the mirror.
There's a lot of that. People look at themselves because you still have, especially if you've been overweight for most of your life, you look in the mirror. If you do at all, some people don't.
Oh wow. They just avoid mirrors.
They avoid mirrors, or if they're passing some kind of reflective surface, they won't look. But when you do look in the mirror and you're like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
And it is to a lot of people, it's like this mind, like, whoa, I don't know what's going on. And so that's part of that. That's in between the starting lines. You've started this new habits, but you haven't gotten to that new starting line where you're like, yeah, that's who I am.
This is normal.
That's just who I am now.
So you're doing like physical training with them, like weights, body movement, stretches, and you're doing what else are you offering to your clients as far as services?
So the services I have, and it's sort of the basic of what my business is there's three things you need in order to become successful with any kind of weight loss or health change, whether it's bariatric surgery, you do something else. Is you have to have the exercise, which is part of it. You have to make sure your nutrition's right and your eating is right, and then you have to do mindset work. And this is the gap between the starting lines is the mindset work. So I started my business doing just the exercise aspect of it because I have a gym. It's a small private space. I work just with clients one-on-one typically because it's less intimidating. But I noticed that there is a lot of mindset work of just feeling comfortable in your body and but also starting to understand why you became obese in the first place. And it's not as an easy answer as, well, you just eat too much. That's a cop out.
It's a lazy answer.
It's a lazy answer to a complex problem.
Yep.
The problem typically is people have things they're hiding from. They're eating their emotions, they're eating their boredom. They had a difficult life growing up, and
some sort of trauma that's undealt with.
Right. And I don't do like trauma work. I'm not a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist, but what I've gotten a lot of training in just helping people start to see like, well, what kind of, you're eating a lot lately. What's happening in your life? What's changed? What stressors are coming up? And sort of helping people build tools to go forward with their life. I sort of think of therapy as a great, I'm pro therapy 100%. Yeah. I think of therapy is being able to unweave part of their life and understand how they got to where they are. And I think of coaching, whether it's physical coaching or mental coaching, is sort of giving you the tools then to move forward and to change that aspect of yourself.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the three things. So it's, exercise, fitness, it's nutrition, and then their mindset. And so you're kind of helping them with, rebuild all three of those things. But at some point, it's on them to go out and take each category further on their own, right? And part of that mindset might be doing therapy on their own.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I really recommend that people that go through this surgery, even consider it, find a therapist. You do some psychological evaluations before the surgery, but that's maybe 1 or 2 sessions at most.
Okay.
And it's more just...
They're doing that with their surgeon, or someone the surgeon passes them off
Yeah,
to?
it's part of the prereqs
Gotcha.
to get the surgery is to have a psychological evaluation. But those don't usually get to the point of it all. They're just a way to start. So yeah, I think if you're going to do the surgery, even think about it, getting a therapist that works for you and can sort of help you discover issues you might have that will keep you from losing the weight and keeping it off is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I want to back up a little bit and figure out how you got to this.
Okay.
How you got into
Right.
this business, because it's such a niche, niche. I never know how to say it.
They both work.
Yeah. All right. Cool. One's European, so I'm not that fancy. So niche. I'll go with niche. So you, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Asheville, in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Western part of the state.
Beautiful. Did you spend a lot of time in the mountains as a kid?
I did. I didn't spend as much as I wanted to. My family wasn't a big outdoorsy family.
Okay.
Especially my father was just not. He did not do that. So when I did it, it was a little later in life.
Okay. And you've never gotten the bariatric surgery, right?
I did not.
Did you ever struggle with weight growing up?
Yeah, I did. I always called myself the fat kid in middle school and into high school.
Okay.
And it's interesting that even back in the day, as old as I am, I was the big kid. Everybody else was still skinny. I think, unfortunately, that's kind of changing now. But, as a kid, especially middle schoolers are really mean.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of trauma that I got from even that little bit of time. And then fortunately for me, I kind of grew up and in a little bit. So I became
just naturally through puberty, you kind of stretched out.
Yeah. And so I kind of moved out of that. But that idea of being the weird, the fat kid, whatever, has stuck with me for most of my life. It's strange how I can go and still experience that trauma a little bit from 8th grade to 10th grade.
Yeah.
So in a way, in a very small way, I can understand how people who have had obesity most of their life feel about it. Yeah, I can't in any way imagine it being for my whole life.
Yeah.
But so I didn't have to do the surgery. But what hit me with bariatric surgery and getting into it was I've been doing fitness for 12 years now.
Okay. How did you originally get into doing fitness?
Fitness was my family has always been in healthcare and in that aspect of it. And I've done other things in my life, but I was thinking that I really wanted to get back into that part. I grew up in a family that was like about, helping others in that aspect of it, in their health. And I had gotten into fitness late in my life, and I noticed that I really liked it. It changed me in a lot of ways for the positive. And I was like, well, I kind of want to do that. And I like education. Like I said earlier, I feel like I'm a teacher and I like teaching people, and that's sort of, it all worked together. And so I went and got my certification in personal training and just started working in it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed hearing stories of people like, I just fit into a pair of pants.
Yeah.
That seems silly to a lot of people, but it isn't. It's a big change. Like, wow, and that was sort of my passion, was like hearing these small stories of,
were they like from your clients, or were it just anybody who had a success story?
Well, at first it was anybody that had success stories, but when my clients get in there, I sort of feel like, I always say I get 5% of this. You get 95% of the work, and I get to take my commission of 5%.
I like that. Yes.
So, but for the most part, it's just hearing people enjoying the change and putting the effort in and going, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. And that sort of prompted me to continue with it. And I did the first 2 years of my career, I just jumped around from place to place trying to figure out what I wanted.
From gym, working at different gyms?
Yeah, I drove all over the city, working. I did all the different group classes, personal training, all those things. And then with a couple of colleagues, we got into talking about, what we wanted to specialize in, especially in physical, in personal training. Specializing is kind of the only way you can continue with it. And fortunately got to talk with a registered dietitian at a bariatric center in Denver, who through that aspect, I learned more about it. And what I learned was what I kind of came to the point of, which is a lot of people that come out of the surgery are like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take it. It's like, and me and there are a couple other people got to take it and go with it. And sort of, we built an initial business that transformed then into the business I have now. Most of my colleagues have moved on.
Okay.
So, but the idea has always been to help people who've gone through bariatric surgery navigate that year to 2 years post-op and be able to get to a point where they're at their second starting line and their life just starts.
So how did you get your first client, post-bariatric surgery client?
I did that I worked a lot with, it was Rose Hospital, and they were very nice to allow me to come in and do a little very short presentation every week at one of their classes about the importance of exercise after bariatric surgery. Okay. And they helped me a lot.
Would there be multiple people in these classes?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so they would come, they were about to get surgery?
They were about to, or they just had it.
Okay.
One of the two. It was pre or post. And then I would go and just talk about that. And that's how I sort of built my client base up around that aspect of it. And COVID changed everything around how that all works. But that's how I started it. Okay. Starting getting those clients and working from there.
So there were people in there with do you work with pre-surgery? Pre-bariatric surgery?
Yeah.
That's got to be way different than post. What are you doing with them? Are you just trying to get them to, because there's probably people who are even too heavy for the surgery, or is that not true?
Well, I don't, there's not, they're too heavy for the surgery. It's just the surgery becomes a little bit more complicated the bigger you are. But yeah, for the pre-op, a lot of the pre-op people, it's starting to help them build the habits.
Okay.
It's building the habit of just showing up at a gym and working out. The workouts may not be an intensity because you're at a size which is uncomfortable, but it's still just let's just meet and do what you can. And the idea is to just start doing it as often as you can, and other things. It's sort of like coaching them through. These are some of the eating habits you're going to have to start dealing with. It's eating smaller amounts of food, sipping your water instead of gulping your water, not drinking and eating at the same time. There's a bunch of them. But being able to start building those habits a little bit before the surgery so that...
Did you say not drinking and eating at the same time?
Yeah.
What is that?
So there's...
Is that something that everyone should do, or just...
No, it's very specific to bariatric surgery for the most part because you have a smaller stomach. Some people call it a pouch.
Oh, so you're saying post-surgery they shouldn't drink and eat at the same time?
Yeah, after surgery. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's because it has this... When you eat, you don't have a lot of food. And especially if there's not... depending on the surgery you don't have that... it's called a pyloric sphincter. It's the one at the bottom of your stomach before it goes into your intestines.
Okay.
And with like bypass, you don't have that anymore. So the food just sort of sits in this little pouch, and then it'll slowly drain out. And if you drink, it'll drain out faster. So the food moves through faster. You get the sensation of being not hungry but empty. Yeah. And there's the idea you may eat more.
Okay.
So
because you're washing the food out of your stomach, essentially.
Yeah, it's not sitting in there long enough and feeling satisfied for a long period of time. So that eating and drinking, that's a difficult one. People have a really hard time with that.
I would have a hard time with that.
I would too, actually, just to be honest.
Yeah.
So so the pre-op people, there's things like that, just like practicing those. So when you go into that second part of your life, then you sort of have an idea of what that's all about. So that's how I work with a lot of my pre-op clients. You
mentioned to me a couple of success stories that like two people who were doing like Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting.
So that's been really
that's incredible success story,
and that was really cool. And I
was that like their goal from the beginning?
No, it wasn't at all. And one of them was a bariatric surgery client, and the other one was not. She had just found me because she's like, I'm overweight. I want to lose weight, but I don't want to go to surgery. You seem like the right kind of person. And I'm like, I can do that. I work with people that don't go through bariatric surgery that just feel like they need to lose a significant amount of weight. So they both came to me at different times, didn't know each other, and both in their mid-30s.
Okay.
And I was just working with them, and they both were, I guess the best word is very intimidated with gyms.
Okay.
They did not want to go to a gym.
Dude, I'm intimidated by gyms too.
I'm intimidated by gyms.
I walk in there and I see some of the people in there and I'm just like, I don't even know. I don't even know what half these machines do.
Right.
So I totally understand.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And I go in and go, I know what to do, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'll be here.
Just don't want to stand next to that guy curling, 100-pound dumbbells. I'm like, I got my 30s, straight in. Yeah. So it's definitely intimidating.
It is. It's intimidating to a lot of people. But I will, as an aside, most people at most gyms are very accommodating. It's their hobby and they love to talk about it. So but for these two girls, they were very intimidated by the gym, which is the reason they came to mind, because it's a private gym. I work with them just individually that way. And after about 6 months of working with them, both, again, independent, asked me, they're like, you know what looks really cool? Powerlifting. And I want to do that.
I've never said that, but I'm glad some people enjoy it.
I didn't either. And I'm not, I've never been I'm not a powerlifting coach, but I've been in fitness for a long enough period of time. I can figure out how to do this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I at first was like, look, I'm not a powerlifting coach. We're going to figure this out together.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's fine. I've never done it either.
That's awesome that you're willing to be flexible like that and like learn new skills for your clients.
Yeah. And I love doing it. And I nerded out I went and read everything I could on powerlifting. I was like, how does the form work? And what's the competition like? And then I gave them these workouts that were, I kind of look at them and go, God, I don't know if I could do them. But and once they connected with powerlifting, they were all in. Yeah. And it was successful because they started going to the gym, and they went from being intimidated by the gym to loving it. Like they would go and like I would spend my workouts for them like an hour to an hour and a half workouts, and they're like, I was there the whole time and I can't wait to go back. And they're all in. And
there's something about lifting weights, doing resistance training that gets like the good hormones going.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of capture that and get some momentum, I feel like it really can build on itself. Because you're getting those good endorphins, you're starting to see a little bit, especially in the beginning, you start to see a little results. And I imagine that's, your clients are seeing results pretty instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the part, is that aspect of it. And they were feeling the results of that. And they got to the point where they went and they competed in a powerlifting competition. I introduced them to each other.
Oh, cool.
And they became really good friends, and they don't work with me anymore. They both said in their own way, because my gym, it works mostly beginners, so my weights only go to a certain thing.
Yeah.
And they both got to the point, it's like, well, I deadlift more than you have. I have to go to a power. I'm like, I think
fair enough.
I think that's an amazing way of saying I need to go. So they're with a powerlifting gym and they're continuing, and I love that about it. I love that they've gotten to that point in their life.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the struggles of your business, is that a success story means that maybe they move on.
Yeah, my goal is to work myself out of that client. I want them to, I educate them, and I want them to get to the point where they're like, I can do this. Yeah. And I have some clients that do that, and I'm fantastic. And some clients are just like, I kind of still want to have that motivation. And so it depends on the person. But ultimately, to me, I want to get someone to the point where they're comfortable with exercise, they're feeling that their mindset is getting right, and their food is at a point where they're going it. And maybe, touch base every once in a while. For the most part, though, it's sort of like, bye, Geof.
So how often are you meeting with your clients? And is it always in person or is it online?
No, I do both. I meet with my clients. It depends. When they're beginning, I meet with them for like 20 or 2 times a week, maybe 30 minutes when they first start. And if they're very much a beginner, like they've never done it, we start really slow, and then I build them up and ultimately get to the point where we're doing 3-hour sessions a week. And then that's in person. And I have an online app that I'm working on a lot that's that I build the workouts for them. And you were just talking about it with the gym, going to the gym, and you're like, it's overwhelming. So one of the things I do with this online app is, since I build the workouts for them, they're still custom build workouts. But it helps you when you go into a gym and you can look on your phone and go, okay, these are the so many exercises that I have to do.
And how detailed are you getting for specific clients? Like, if a client has like a knee issue, are you cognizant of that when you're building their workouts?
Yeah.
And you're customizing the workouts to accommodate their injuries or movements they can or can't do?
Yeah, that's very much a part of what I do.
That takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time. And I'll typically will have initial conversations, maybe 90 minutes or so, where we talk about all that stuff. And then I build a workout.
Is that kind of like the onboarding
sort
process?
of an onboarding process. Okay. And then we discuss things throughout the month, maybe via the app or a phone call or something like that. But the goal is so I can make changes as it goes through. So if they're knee problem, like, okay, I know these movements are probably knee safe, but they may come back and say, I can't do that because I don't have that piece of equipment or something. So it's like, okay, let's modify that. How can we do it differently? So I don't just sort of throw stuff at them and say, figure it out.
Yeah.
It's everything that you would get with a personal trainer. The only thing is I'm just not standing there with you.
Okay.
So for the most part, it's all that. And I have a couple clients that I do Zoom sessions with.
Okay.
Personal
So they
training.
can be fully remote. They can live on the other side of the country, or the other side of the world.
I have a client,
and you can still coach them.
Right. I have a client in Florida. I have a client in Georgia that I work with, that I do one-to-one personal training over Zoom.
That's so cool.
So they have the equipment. I talk them through it. I watch
the beauty of technology, because they would have never been able to find, 20 years ago, they would have never been able to find someone like you probably in their neighborhood where they live. I mean, maybe in the larger metro areas, but if you live in a smaller community, the internet and technology just opens up a connection between you two.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that I can reach out to more people and help more people with that aspect of it. And, so that's a fantastic part of it. Yeah.
Let's, so tell me about like your goals for your business moving forward, maybe the next year or two. I think we had talked about, doing more online stuff, right?
Yeah. So my goal is I'd like to reach out to more people, and the online is a great way to do that because, like I said, you still get a lot of personal training aspect of it. You can do the coaching, both physical and mental coaching aspect that way. So my goal is to start growing that part of the business more and building that part up. So that's sort of where I see myself. I'd like to get to the point, and I think it's going to happen maybe soon, to maybe bring someone else on as another trainer,
another coach.
So
what would they do? Just same thing you're doing, and
they may just take over maybe more of the personal, like the in-person stuff.
Okay.
It just sort of depends on how things go, but I'm at that point where I may bring someone else on to start adding more.
Are you looking for someone who is already trained, or you want to kind of train them in your way, how you do things?
I think I'd like to get someone who's already trained, but is willing to, but doesn't have to understand completely the obesity aspect of it. Because there are some parts of working with somebody who has been obese and doesn't understand their body and how they move, and just no fault of their own. It's just they've never really had to. But it would be nice to have someone who's more open to that. Like, okay, let's work with this specific population in a specific way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see my business going over the next 2 to 3 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got some fun rapid fire questions to end on.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Do they have to be rapid fire answers?
They do. Yeah, that's the point.
Yes.
I mean, you can take a few seconds.
Thank you.
But we're just going to wrap up on this, and then I'll have you kind of pitch where people can find you and all that. So, all right. Don't take more than a few seconds on each one. All right. Favorite vacation spot?
The mountains.
Okay. Live concert or a day at a theme park?
Live concert.
Okay. So you got a venue in mind?
Probably Red Rocks.
Who's headlining?
Oh God. Led Zeppelin.
Ooh, Led Zeppelin at Red Rocks would be awesome.
It's never going to happen, but yes.
All right. Okay. If you weren't running this business, what would you be doing?
What would I be doing? Oh God.
You got to tell people about your degree. I didn't even mention that.
Which one?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology. I did archaeology for about 4 years, and then I have a master's degree in computer science, and I was a computer nerd for about 3 or 4 years too.
So what would you be doing?
Neither one of those.
Okay.
Honestly, I think I think I would probably I'd be running a coffee shop. That's something I almost started a coffee shop before moving out to Colorado. So I'd probably be doing that.
That sounds like a rom-com waiting to happen.
I think there's something there.
All right. You're on death row. They ask you what you want for your last meal.
Uh-huh.
What do you tell them?
Pancakes.
Just a stack, just a giant stack of pancakes.
Yeah,
They
maybe
gotta be
pancakes
warm.
and fried chicken.
Ooh, dang, that sounds good.
Yeah,
I've heard of chicken and waffles. I've never heard of chicken and pancakes, but it's all kind of the same
It's
thing.
all the same.
Yeah, it's softer, All right, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yeah, me too. I don't do cats. All right, what's something that you're really good at that most people don't know?
I love to mountain bike. I've gotten pretty good at it. I fall down less. That's how I go if I'm pretty good at it.
How intense are you wearing pads? Are you doing all the pads? You wearing chest pads,
knee
back
pads, and a helmet.
Okay.
And and I've needed them.
Yeah. Do you have the dual suspension? Are you doing?
Yeah.
You're into it.
I love it. It's the hobby I have. I allowed myself one expensive hobby.
Nice.
And that became
It's probably not that expensive. I mean, I guess maintaining the bike is
maintaining the bike, buying the bike and maintaining the bike.
Yeah.
And then driving to the trailheads.
Do you do a lot of your own maintenance, or you? Because I've tried. I used to mountain bike, not as intense as you. And anytime something would break, I'm not mechanical at all. I couldn't figure out how to redo my brakes or tighten my brakes. So I ended up just taking it in every single time anything happened. But.
Right. I can do some things, but typically there's a thing in the world of mechanics is we repair what you fixed.
Yeah.
So typically what happens is I walk in and go, I tried to do it, and they're like, okay, the extra $20.
Yeah, to undo your mistakes and do it right.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather travel to the past or the future?
Future.
Why?
Because I just kind of want to see where we go. Mm-hmm. That's a hard question, actually. Being an archaeologist, having been an archaeologist, but there's this curiosity of what's this planet going to look like in 150 years?
Go either direction.
It could go in so many.
I know.
It could.
I hope it gets better.
I hope it gets better too. But there's a part of me I wonder what it's going to be like in 100 years. What's technology going to be like?
I can't fathom. I mean, we've come so far in the last 100 years.
Right.
Computers essentially didn't exist. So
in 60 years we went from learning how, flying our airplane to landing on the moon.
Yeah.
So it's what's 150 years going to be like? So that's the future.
We'll see.
Maybe.
All right. Watch a TV show or read a book?
Read a book.
Okay. You got a genre you like? Do you read a lot?
Yeah. Right now, I'm a big nerd. I like sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And
have you read the Expanse books?
I started reading them, and then I got into the Expanse. Then I got into the Amazon,
the TV show,
and I watched all those.
Okay. Well, they only go 6 episodes. The book, there's 9 books.
Is there?
So there's a whole another trilogy that you
Is there?
haven't seen. Yeah.
I've only read the first 2.
It's really good.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I need to go back.
There's 9 books. So
not intimidating.
It's my favorite. Yeah, it is intimidating. Audiobooks, man. Just when you're mountain biking. There you go. All right. Street smarts or book smarts for you? What you got?
I would love to say street smarts, but honestly, if I have to say, it's probably book smarts.
You got too many degrees to say street smarts.
Shadow.
All right. Is there a word that you can never remember how to spell?
Well, it was tomorrow for some reason. I kept thinking there's too many M's in it. I was how many M's are in tomorrow? I was is it 1 M and 2 R's, or is it 2 M's and 1 R? I finally figured that one.
Okay.
That one.
Restaurant for me.
Restaurant?
Never. Even right now, I could not tell you how to spell it. It's got a A-U-N-T and A-R-A-U-N-T. I don't know. That one and entrepreneur.
I'll never get that one.
My
business owner is what I write.
Business owner, or entrepreneur. Entrepreneur.
I'll never get it.
Me neither. I gave up. Cool. All right. So that's it, man.
Well, that's it.
That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I want you to just tell anyone listening, anyone watching, where they can find you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
You can find me online at phoenixfitnessdenver.com. That'll be changing hopefully soon.
Yeah. When's the goal? When are you going to change the name?
Hopefully by the end of this, by the beginning of the summer.
Okay.
Of 23.
Well, what are you waiting on?
It's just sort of I'm getting the logos and some of the other stuff together and
you
kind of
want to have everything before you launch.
Yeah, I just want to switch it over.
I'm bad. I'm the opposite. I just launch something. I'm and then reverse. And then they're like, what are we missing? I'll figure it out.
Well, that's because I have this unfortunate perfectionism that you can never be perfect. It's well, that's not right. I can't do it. So it's sort of like you starting a podcast.
Yeah.
You just got to do it, right?
Yeah,
you just got to do it. So it'll be coaching for bariatric success.com.
Cool. We'll put all that in the show notes and all that. So
and then I have a physical space right now on 8th Avenue near downtown in a warehouse space. So you can find me there as well.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time.
I appreciate this. This was great.
Yeah,
I had a great time.
You were awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. All right. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.